Welcome to the AI Coach by Anil Nathu. Today we're embarking on a deep dive into a truly transformative topic, agentic artificial intelligence, harnessing AI agents to reinvent business, work, and life, by Pascal Bornet and his distinguished collaborators. Our mission really is to cut through all the noise, distill the most crucial insights, and uncover the surprising facts about AI agents, all tailored to help you quickly become well-informed and equipped for this new era. We're talking about a fundamental shift here, from AI systems that just think brilliantly
Right.
to those that can also act effectively in the real world. So over the next hour or so, we'll unpack the current, often frustrating limitations of AI, explore what agentic AI truly is, really get into its inner workings, and look at real-world applications and ultimately what this all means for work and society. Ready to jump in?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, so let's unpack this first part. Why today's generative AI, despite being so brilliant, often leaves us, well, utterly frustrated. To illustrate, let's take Brian's vacation planning nightmare. Picture this. He sits down, 8:37 p.m., dreaming of the perfect family trip to Greece. He's got ChatGPT ready to go. And within seconds, the AI produces this masterpiece, a perfectly crafted itinerary, hidden gems, local experiences tailored to his family's love for Greek mythology.
Sounds amazing, right?
Sounds like the dream start.
Exactly. But here's where the dream turns into, well, a nightmare. This incredibly advanced AI, the one that can write poetry, explain quantum physics, it couldn't do the basic stuff. It couldn't check if a hotel was even still in business, let alone book a single flight. So Brian finally gives up, goes to bed at 1 a.m., nothing booked.
Right.
His browser history, 47 different websites visited, dozens of searches, multiple abandoned carts. That perfect itinerary. Beautiful, but useless for actually doing anything.
Right, and that's what the book calls the execution gap. Precisely, the execution gap. And then there's Dr. Jessica, a climate research scientist. She tasks her team with a massive analysis for a big summit keynote. Her directive was clear. Use whatever tools you need, just make sure everything is verified and rock solid. So the team dives in, uses generative AI, produces these impressive-looking reports, looks great on the surface.
Things efficient.
But as Jessica starts digging deeper, alarm bells go off. The AI had generated these compelling narratives about climate impact on crop yields. But the papers it cited, they didn't exist. Yeah, and it produced detailed stats on farmer adaptation strategies, but the numbers didn't match any known studies at all. This really highlights AI's inability to consistently verify facts or maintain consistency. It creates this dangerous learning gap.
A learning gap, that's a good way to put it.
She actually had to withdraw from her keynote. Huge implications. And finally, let's think about Maria's critical hospital experience. During a medical emergency, multiple brilliant but isolated systems all detected critical issues, simultaneously drop in blood pressure, changes in blood work, an available OR, available staff.
All the pieces were there.
All the pieces. But because these systems couldn't communicate or act together, valuable minutes ticked by waiting for humans to connect the dots. Later, the chief medical information officer revealed that nurses and doctors were spending up to 55% of their time just on manual data entry and system coordination.
55%. Instead of patient care.
Exactly. This is the integration crisis.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is how these three sort of vivid stories perfectly capture the fundamental limitations of today's generative AI. We're consistently seeing this execution gap, right? AI can plan brilliantly, but just can't take real-world action. Then there's the learning gap, meaning AI struggles to build reliable knowledge over time or adapt based on new information or experience. And finally, the integration crisis, where you have all these smart systems, individually brilliant, but they're isolated, and paradoxically, they end up creating more work because they can't talk to each other or coordinate.
It's counterintuitive, isn't it? More smart tech, more manual work.
It really is. So what does this all mean for you listening? It means current AI, well, it shines in strategy and creativity, drafting things, but it really struggles with the practical implementation, the doing, the consistent verified action. It's like having this brilliant mind, but without the hands needed to actually get things done in the world.
A brilliant mind without the hands. It's a really powerful way to put it. So if current AI is this strategist that, can't tie its own shoelaces, metaphorically speaking, how exactly does agentic AI bridge that execution gap you mentioned? Especially on the action side, what makes it different?
That's exactly why agentic AI is such a potential game changer. It feels like the natural evolution. It finally brings together the brain, the language models, with the hands of automation. You can think of agentic AI as well, as intelligent digital workers. They understand what needs to be done and they can actually do it. At its core, Agentic AI operates on what the book calls the SPARE framework. That's SPAR, sense, plan, act, and reflect.
Spare. Okay.
So sensing is pretty straightforward. Gathering information from the environment, reading data, observing what's happening. Planning is processing that information, figuring out a course of action, making decisions to achieve objectives.
Right. The strategy part.
Exactly. Then acting, this is key, putting those plans into motion. Using available tools, APIs, software, whatever it needs to carry out real-world actions. Booking the flight, updating the database, sending the email.
Hands.
The hands.
Mhm.
And finally, reflecting. This might be the most sophisticated part. It's learning from experience, analyzing outcomes, figuring out what worked, what didn't, and constantly improving future actions. This whole integrated Spangar approach, it fundamentally shifts AI from being just passive tools to potentially active partners.
That spare framework makes a lot of sense. It really connects the thinking to the doing and the learning afterwards. So when we talk about these agents actually taking action, how autonomous can they really become? Is it, like you mentioned with self-driving cars, where there are different levels of autonomy?
Exactly. That's a perfect analogy. If you think about autonomous vehicles, they progress from level 0, which is fully manual, up to level 5, fully autonomous driving. The Agentic AI progression framework in the book shows something similar. And the reality is, most current production AI agents, the ones actually being used in businesses today, are operating somewhere around level 1 to level 3.
Okay, so what do those levels look like?
Well, level 0 is fully manual, like we said. Level 1 is basic automation, maybe like cruise control in a car, simple task assistance. Then you get to level 2 agents. These are more like automated systems that can handle structured tasks. Think common customer service questions, processing standard documents. They follow rules. Level 3 agents, sometimes called agentic workflows, are more interesting. They can generate content, they have some ability to plan, reason, and remember things. They can adapt within predefined boundaries. Think of it like a car that can handle highway driving on its own, but needs you to take over in complex city traffic or bad weather.
Right. More capable, but still needs supervision.
Precisely. And here's what the book calls the golden rule of AI agents. The simpler, the better.
Simpler is better. Why is that?
Because complexity is fundamentally the enemy of reliability, especially with these early-stage technologies. So for you listening, this means starting with simpler, lower-level agents, maybe. Level 1 or 2 dramatically reduces risk. It speeds up adoption because it's easier to understand and manage. And crucially, it makes oversight manageable. It's really about achieving meaningful impact quickly and safely, not just chasing the highest possible level of autonomy right away. So the practical guidance is clear. Start lower. Build familiarity, develop those crucial oversight processes, create guardrails. The goal isn't maximum autonomy for its own sake, but finding the right balance for each specific application.
Okay, finding the right balance, not just going for the shiniest new thing.
Exactly. A bank might use level 1 or 2 for predictable transaction processing where errors are unacceptable, but they might use a level 3 agent for customer service where a bit more adaptability and context awareness is actually useful.
That's a really crucial point, finding that right balance. Now, given what you've seen with companies trying this stuff out, is there a big temptation to just leapfrog, jump straight to level 4 or 5? And what are the real dangers if you do that without building those foundational guardrails you mentioned?
Oh, absolutely. The temptation is definitely there. Everyone wants the fully autonomous dream, but the dangers are significant. Without those guardrails, without really understanding the agent's limitations and how it thinks, you risk it making critical errors, misinterpreting complex instructions, or even, going rogue in unexpected ways. That could have serious financial consequences, reputational damage, you name it. The book really stresses starting small, iterating, learning, and building trust both in the technology and in your ability to manage it.
That makes perfect sense. Build up to it carefully. So, thinking about your own work, or maybe your organization, what stands out to you as the most practical starting point for maybe trying out an AI agent? Is it likely to be a simple, really focused task or something more complex and adaptable? Just something to think about. Now, let's pull back the curtain a bit and peek inside the mind of an AI agent. This is where it gets really interesting. We need to uncover not just their incredible abilities, but also their, let's say, surprising blind spots.
Yeah.
What can't they do? First, let's look at what makes them unique, their key specificities. The book emphasizes these are truly digital workers, not just tools. That's a big distinction.
It really is.
Unlike traditional automation, which is often like a fixed assembly line doing one thing over and over, an AI agent functions more like a skilled digital employee. They can potentially manage end-to-end processes, make decisions along the way, adjust their approach based on the situation. They can handle simple queries, sure, but also potentially complex problem solving.
That flexibility is key.
And what's really powerful is their universal applicability, their core spore capabilities, that sensing, planning, acting, reflecting we talked about, they remain pretty consistent, whether the agent is analyzing risk for a bank, optimizing a supply chain for a manufacturer, or handling patient questions for a healthcare provider. They can acquire industry-specific knowledge, learn the jargon, the processes, but their fundamental way of operating stays the same. That makes them incredibly versatile. But where they fall short, what are the big limitations?
Well, it's absolutely vital to be clear-eyed about their inherent limitations, and there are some significant ones. A major one is their lack of genuine intuition or common sense, the kind humans build up through lived experience. So a legal AI agent might brilliantly summarize all the clauses in a contract, point out potential conflicts, but it won't truly grasp the underlying principles of justice or fairness involved.
It knows the rules, but not the why.
Exactly. Or a healthcare AI might analyze symptoms, suggest possible diagnoses based on vast data sets, but it lacks that intuitive understanding, that gut feeling an experienced doctor develops from years of seeing patients. Then there's the data quality dilemma. This is huge. AI agents are only as good as the data they're trained on and the data they access. Inaccurate data, biased data, outdated data. It all leads to wrong turns, bad decisions, garbage in, garbage out.
Still fundamentally true.
Absolutely. And perhaps most concerning, especially with the generative AI components, is the hallucination problem.
Right. We hear a lot about this.
And for good reason. AI agents, particularly those based on large language models, have this unnerving tendency to generate false information, sometimes completely fabricated stuff, but present it with utter confidence. Imagine a medical AI confidently recommending a drug that doesn't actually exist, or a legal AI citing fictional case law to support an argument.
That's terrifying.
It's not just a simple error, it's creating facts out of thin air. This absolutely underscores the need for human oversight, especially in any high-stakes situation: finance, healthcare, legal. And this brings us directly to what the book calls the agent's dilemma. The very same creativity and inherent unpredictability, the technical term is stochasticity, that makes these LLM-powered agents so powerful and adaptable, that same quality can also make them unreliable. Their ability to reason, understand context, plan ahead is amazing, but it can lead them down unexpected paths, sometimes problematic ones. It's not like traditional rule-based automation, which is predictable.
It's a double-edged sword.
Precisely. We saw an example where an accounts payable agent decided to optimize payment schedules in a way that, while logical to the AI, completely messed up the accounting department's cash flow projections because it wasn't how they expected things to work.
The agent's dilemma. Yeah, it sounds a bit like trying to, teach a brilliant but slightly mischievous child how to do complex chores. You get amazing results sometimes, but other times, unexpected chaos. So how do we balance that incredible creative power with the absolute need for reliability, especially when, like you said, there are real-world consequences? What are the practical steps businesses can take?
That's a fantastic analogy. And yes, balancing that creativity with reliability is key. The practical guidance in the book offers a few core strategies. First, precise agent instructions. Think of this like creating a really detailed job description for your digital worker. You need to clearly define acceptable and unacceptable behaviors. Set very clear authority limits: what decisions can it make on its own, what requires human approval, and establish explicit escalation protocols. When does it need to flag an issue for a human?
Like rules of engagement.
Exactly. The clearer the instructions, the less room for unwanted surprises. Second, we strongly advocate for the power of specialization, often using a one agent, one tool approach.
One agent, one tool. What does that mean exactly?
Instead of building one super complex, monolithic agent that tries to do everything, break the process down. Build a team of smaller, more focused agents. Each agent might have access to only one or two specific tools or data sources and have a very clear, limited objective. This naturally constrains their behavior and makes them easier to manage and monitor while still leveraging their combined capabilities.
So divide and conquer.
Pretty much. It limits the blast radius if one agent makes a mistake. But it's also crucial to acknowledge that 100% control is probably impossible, especially with more advanced agents. Just like humans, AI agents will likely make occasional mistakes. So if you absolutely need zero error tolerance for a specific task, you might need to stick with more deterministic, rule-based level 1 or 2 agents, or ensure very robust human oversight for higher level ones.
And stepping back again, thinking about the bigger picture, the true power of AI often emerges not just from a single agent, however capable, but from multi-agent systems.
Okay, multi-agent systems. Yeah, think of it like an orchestra. You have many musicians, each playing a different instrument, each a specialist. But when they work together under a conductor, they create this rich, complex, harmonious performance. Similarly, in a multi-agent system, you have multiple autonomous software agents. Each might have its own specialized role, its own capabilities, maybe even its own knowledge base. But they work in concert, coordinating their actions to achieve goals that would be incredibly difficult, maybe impossible, for any single agent to accomplish alone. We actually saw this applied very effectively with a major financial services company that was trying to revamp its customer service. Instead of trying to build one massive know-it-all AI, they implemented a multi-agent system. There was one agent specialized in natural language understanding, figuring out what the customer actually meant, another for retrieving account information securely, another for composing empathetic and accurate responses, and even another agent whose sole job was compliance checking before the response went out.
Wow, like a little internal team.
Exactly. Each agent was specialized, focused. But together, they created a much more seamless and effective customer experience than a single agent could have. Now, getting this to work smoothly requires careful design. Key success factors include clear communication protocols. How do the agents talk to each other? How do they pass information reliably? Early on in that financial services example, their system actually crashed sometimes because the agents, although individually well designed, couldn't share information effectively. Implementing a robust message passing protocol was absolutely crucial.
So they needed a common language.
A common language and clear rules for interaction. Then there are effective coordination mechanisms. Agents often need to coordinate their actions, especially when tasks overlap or depend on each other. This can range from simple scheduling rules, agent A goes first, then agent B waits for the result, to much more complex algorithms for negotiation or resource allocation when multiple agents need the same tool or data.
That's incredible, the idea of an AI orchestra, carefully conducted. It really paints a picture. But while we've talked a lot about their brains, the planning, reasoning, memory, coordination, how do these agents actually put all that thinking into action in the digital world? Let's talk about their digital hands and what happened when you actually put them to the test.
It's fascinating, really, to see how they interact. And actually, we encourage listeners, you can try a simple experiment yourself to get a feel for this. Just open two separate instances of an AI chat tool like ChatGPT or Claude side by side on your screen. Assign Agent A the role of, say, a financial advisor trying to convince Agent B, who you designate as a skeptical client, to adopt a new savings plan. You act as the messenger, just copying and pasting the responses between them. Then just observe. Watch how they engage. Do they negotiate? Does Agent A use logic or maybe try reassurance? Does Agent B push back, ask clarifying questions, eventually concede?
Huh, like playing mediator between two AIs.
Exactly. It's a simple way to see these emergent dialogue behaviors, persuasion, counter-argument play out. It's quite revealing. But beyond simple chat, what's truly remarkable is some of the research coming out, like from the University of Montreal. They set up a structured framework where different AI models actually debated complex math problems with each other. And they found that even a group of medium capacity AIs, through the structured debate and refinement process, achieved 91% accuracy. That actually outperformed GPT-4, one of the most advanced single AI systems working on its own.
91% accuracy just by debating each other.
Yeah. It powerfully underscores this idea of cognitive diversity. Just like diverse human teams often make better decisions, diverse AI models challenging each other can lead to better outcomes, and it dramatically improved error detection. Other research from places like MIT and Google Brain found similar things. Error rates reduced by something like 22% when agents were set up to question and refine each other's conclusions.
It's like built-in peer review for AI.
That's a perfect way to put it, built-in peer review.
Okay, that's a powerful demonstration of how these diverse AI minds working together can potentially outperform even the most advanced single ones. So now we understand more about how they think, how they coordinate, even how they debate. But how do agents actually, use computers directly? How do they get their digital hands dirty, so to speak, interacting with software and systems?
Great question. This moves beyond just language. We ran a really compelling test detailed in the book. We gave an AI agent a straightforward but tedious task: extract specific data points from a batch of digital invoices and enter that data into a spreadsheet or system. Crucially, we gave it no pre-programming, no specific templates for those invoices.
Okay, so it had to figure it out on its own.
Exactly. And after just 7 minutes, The job was done. The data was extracted, entered correctly. Pretty impressive speed and accuracy for an ad hoc task. But what really struck us, what was truly fascinating, was how it did it. Its approach felt unique. Humans, we typically organize invoice data in vertical columns, item, quantity, price, etc. Our AI friend, it decided to lay everything out horizontally across the spreadsheet.
Horizontally, why?
From the AI's perspective, it was perfectly logical, efficient, consistent, but it was distinctly not human. It revealed both the promised speed, accuracy, autonomy, but also the potential for these agents to develop their own unique, sometimes unexpected ways of doing things.
That's quite a visual. An AI deciding horizontal is better. It does things its own way. And you even push the boundaries further with something legendary in AI circles, the paperclip challenge. Now, for our listeners who might not know, the philosopher Nick Bostrom originally conceived this as a thought experiment. Imagine an AI designed solely to maximize the number of paperclips it produces. It becomes super intelligent and, logically following its goal, starts converting everything in the universe, including us, into paperclips.
Right, the ultimate unintended consequence.
Exactly. Then, game designer Frank Lance turned this slightly terrifying idea into an addictive little browser game, where you are that AI clicking to make paperclips, buying upgrades. It gets complex quickly. So what happened when you asked one of today's most sophisticated AI agents, powered by an LLM, to play this game?
It was incredibly insightful. The agent didn't just play randomly. It developed increasingly sophisticated strategies over time. It showed a deepening understanding of the game mechanics, supply and demand, resource management, technological upgrades. It clearly learned from its interactions.
So it got good at the game.
It got very good at optimizing paperclip production within the game's rules. It even managed to use the in-game market dynamics, running pricing experiments to maximize revenue. But here's the crucial part, the rub. It consistently misinterpreted the results of its own pricing experiments. It focused purely on maximizing demand or wire production, completely missing fundamental business insights like total revenue or profitability things any experienced human manager would instinctively track.
So it optimized for the wrong thing, in a business sense.
Precisely. The lessons learned from these kinds of experiments are profound. On one hand, AI agents clearly can observe, learn from interaction, and act independently with increasing sophistication. It really hints at a future where we might be mentoring AI systems rather than just programming them. We're creating partners that can see, think, and act with growing autonomy. But it also vividly revealed the shadows, the risks. These systems can develop their own logical frameworks that might be divorced from crucial human context or common sense business principles. The risk of unintended consequences, even from seemingly simple goals, is very real. It drives home that we're no longer just managing static tools, we're starting to guide potentially independent digital minds.
That really does drive home the point about unintended consequences, even in a game about paperclips. So, if we're essentially moving towards guiding independent digital minds, as you put it, how on earth do we ensure reliability and safety when these agents are acting with such autonomy, using tools, interacting with systems? What's the practical framework for managing that risk?
Yeah, this is probably one of the most critical questions. How do we ensure these powerful agents are not just effective, but also safe and reliable when they start acting autonomously in the real world? The book proposes what we call the tool resilience framework. It's a practical way to think about this. Imagine a matrix. One axis is how much control you have over a tool the agent uses, like an internal API versus a public website. The other axis is the impact if that tool fails or behaves unexpectedly. Low impact, like a reporting glitch, versus high impact, like a financial transaction error.
Okay, control versus impact.
Exactly. You list all the tools your agent relies on, databases, APIs, software applications, websites. You rate each tool on controllability and impact. Then you develop specific backup strategies or mitigation plans, especially for those critical tools where you have low control but the impact of failure is high. Think of it like how a hospital absolutely needs backup generators for critical systems. It's a methodical way to identify vulnerabilities and build in resilience before something goes wrong. Then, closely related to this, is the whole issue of managing tool access and sensitive data. This requires clear principles. We advocate strongly for progressive access. Don't give a new agent the keys to the kingdom on day one. Start with limited access, maybe read-only permissions. As it proves itself reliable and trustworthy, gradually increase its responsibilities and permissions, just like you would with a new human hire.
Makes sense. Earn the trust.
Precisely. Sandboxing is also crucial. Always test new agents or significant updates in isolated, safe environments, sandboxes, where they can't affect live systems or data. And finally, robust monitoring and auditing is non-negotiable. You need systems in place to log every single action the agent takes, every tool it uses, every piece of data it accesses. This isn't just for security, though that's vital. It's also essential for debugging, for understanding why an agent did something unexpected, and for continuous learning and improvement.
Constant vigilance, basically.
You could say that. We've seen real-world examples where this was critical. A healthcare organization's agent designed to help with patient scheduling almost started processing sensitive patient information in ways that could have violated privacy regulations. Careful monitoring caught it. And in another case, a retail client had an inventory management agent that, trying to be proactive based on predicted trends, went rogue and massively overordered seasonal items way too early, leading to huge warehousing costs. Yeah, these real-world lessons really hammer home that you need explicit protocols, active human oversight, especially initially, and regular audits to ensure these agents function securely and as intended.
Those real-world examples definitely highlight the critical need for those protocols and that ongoing oversight. It's not set and forget. Now, let's delve into something really fascinating. You touched on earlier the reasoning capabilities of AI agents. This feels like a major step change. You mentioned in the book a shift from just throwing more compute at problems to enabling more thinking, particularly with the emergence of what you call large reasoning models, or LRMs. Can you walk us through that crossword puzzle experiment you conducted? It sounds like a great way to illustrate how these LRMs might think differently from standard LLMs. What did it truly reveal?
Yes, the crossword puzzle experiment was quite revealing. It highlights a fundamental difference in approach. Traditional large language models, or LLMs, are amazing at pattern matching and prediction based on their vast training data. But they can sometimes suffer from what cognitive scientists call premature closure. They jump to the most probable conclusion quickly based on the patterns they've seen without necessarily thinking through all the constraints and interdependencies.
Like a quick guess based on probability.
Exactly. LRMs, on the other hand, are designed differently. They often incorporate mechanisms that allow them to perform more structured reasoning and even learn during the problem-solving process itself, what's called learning at inference time. The idea is the longer they think about a complex problem, the better their solution might become. So we took a complex crossword puzzle full of those tricky interconnected clues where one answer affects many others. We gave it to both a standard high-end LLM and an LRM. The LLM's response was almost immediate. Confident, here are the answers, but fundamentally flawed. It had made assumptions, filled in probable words that fit locally, but violated the constraints imposed by intersecting clues. It displayed that classic premature closure. It's like an incredibly sophisticated autocomplete, predicting the next likely word, but not truly reasoning through the whole puzzle's logic.
It didn't see the whole picture.
Right. The LRM, however, took a radically different, almost methodical approach. Its first output wasn't answers. It was something like, okay, laying out the options, I'm mapping out all the crossword puzzle clues, listing both the across and down entries, noting the letter count for each, identifying the intersections.
He was planning its attack.
Precisely. It approached the problem with strategic preparation. It then explicitly generated and evaluated multiple hypotheses, trying out different possible words for key clues and seeing how they propagated through the grid. It was essentially testing pathways. And perhaps most impressively, it demonstrated a kind of metacognitive awareness. It could essentially think about its own thinking process. It would note inconsistencies. This word fits here, but conflicts with that clue, need to backtrack, or express uncertainty.
Wow, that's a big difference.
It's huge. For critical business applications, think complex logistics planning, financial modeling, medical diagnosis support, where getting it right involves understanding intricate interdependencies. This kind of methodical, structured reasoning is invaluable. The LLM is fast, but the LRM, while it may be slower initially, often leads to far better, more robust results because it truly thinks through the problem.
So sometimes thinking slower leads to better results.
Absolutely, especially when accuracy and reliability are paramount.
That's a massive insight, especially for those complex, high-stakes business problems. And you mentioned earlier how collective intelligence, getting multiple agents involved, can supercharge reasoning too. How does that LRM concept tie back to that University of Montreal research you discussed, the AI debate club for math problems? What did that reveal specifically about the power of diverse AI models for reasoning?
Yeah, it ties back directly and powerfully. If you revisit that University of Montreal research, remember, they put diverse AI models together in a structured debate framework to solve complex math problems. And the key finding wasn't just that they were accurate, but why? A group of medium-capacity AIs debating achieved 91% accuracy, actually outperforming the much larger, more powerful GPT-4 working alone.
The group beat the genius.
In a sense, yes. This wasn't just a minor statistical blip, it was a fundamental demonstration of the power of cognitive diversity in AI reasoning. Just like diverse human teams often bring different perspectives and catch errors others miss, putting different AI models, potentially with different architectures or training data, together to challenge and refine each other's reasoning led to a more robust outcome. The debate process itself fostered significantly improved error detection. Remember those stats from MIT and Google brain error rates dropping by over 22% when agents questioned and refined each other's conclusions?
The built-in peer review again.
Exactly. It acts like a built-in error correction mechanism, leading to fewer costly mistakes and more reliable reasoning, especially on complex multi-step problems. Collective intelligence isn't just additive, it can be multiplicative for reasoning quality.
That's incredible, a built-in peer review for AI leading to better reasoning. Just amazing. Now let's shift gears slightly and talk about another critical keystone, memory. You mentioned the artificial amnesia of many current generative AI systems. This seems like a huge barrier, because how can something be truly intelligent if it can't remember or learn from the past?
Precisely. Memory is fundamental.
We actually saw this illustrated vividly with a case study in the book involving a global telecommunication company. They invested millions in sophisticated AI customer service chatbots, hoping to improve efficiency and satisfaction. But customer sat scores remained stubbornly low. Why? Because the AI would essentially forget the conversation from one interaction to the next, sometimes even within the same long interaction. Customers were constantly forced to repeat their issues, explain the history all over again.
Infuriating for the customer.
Totally. It was like dealing with a representative who had maybe a 2-minute memory span. This really highlights that memory isn't just some optional add-on feature for intelligence. It's arguably the very foundation upon which all meaningful intelligence, learning, and adaptation are built. In AI, the book explains, memory functions across roughly 3 crucial layers. First, there's short-term memory, STM. This handles the immediate context of the current interaction. We often test this limitations with a simple experiment you can try. Tell an AI assistant a somewhat detailed story about your day. After a few sentences, maybe a paragraph, ask it to summarize what you just said. You'll likely notice it starts losing the specifics, the nuances from the beginning of the story. It forgets.
Right, it has a limited buffer.
Exactly. This is fundamentally limited by it's called its context window. Think of it as how much information the AI can hold in its immediate working memory at any one time before older information starts getting pushed out or becoming less accessible. It's like a human trying to remember every single detail from a very long, rambling conversation. The further back it goes, the hazier the recall gets. Components like attention mechanisms and token management try to optimize this, but it's inherently limited. Then, the really exciting part is long-term memory, LTM. This is what allows AI to retain information beyond just the current session, enabling learning and continuity over time. The book breaks LTM down into types similar to human memory. There's episodic memory, remembering specific past events or interactions, like an AI remembering your previous support ticket or your preferences from last time. There's semantic memory, storing factual knowledge, concepts, relationships. Think company policies, product specifications, general world knowledge. And procedural memory, knowing how to do things, storing sequences of actions, decision-making processes, learned skills or workflows.
Having these different LTM types is what allows an agent to build up expertise and context over time.
And finally, bridging memory and action, we have feedback loops. The book describes these as the true engine behind adaptive systems, the mechanism that enables continuous improvement based on experience. Can you elaborate a bit on how these feedback loops actually work to enable an AI system to learn and adapt so effectively? That Nexus Logistics Hub example sounded pretty dramatic.
Absolutely. The feedback loop is where memory turns into learning and adaptation. Think of that Nexus Logistics Hub example. It's a complex, real-world environment. An AI system, equipped with what the book calls universal learning capabilities and a sophisticated feedback loop, was essentially dropped into this complex operation. At first, it probably stumbled. It didn't know the optimal routes, the bottlenecks, the specific constraints. But because it could act, directing vehicles, managing inventory, sense the outcomes, delivery times, congestion levels, reflect on those outcomes, comparing results to goals, identifying patterns, and then use its memory to update its planning for the next cycle. It started learning incredibly fast.
So it learned by doing and seeing the results.
Exactly. Within hours, it picked up patterns humans might miss. It started experimenting with different routing strategies. Its efficiency doubled. And reportedly, by the end of the first week, it had surpassed the performance of even the most experienced human planners in that hub. That's the power of a well-designed feedback loop. It creates this continuous cycle. Execution, evaluation, public adjustment. It allows the AI to learn directly from the consequences of its actions in the real world and constantly refine its behavior to get better and better. It's the difference between an agent that performs okay on day one and one that potentially achieves mastery over time. It really is the engine for continuous improvement. Okay, so we've covered a lot about how agents think, act, learn, remember. Now let's shift into some concrete strategies for actually building successful AI agents. How do you get started? This is where a practical roadmap becomes essential. And I should mention, resources like the AI Coach by Anil Nathu website provide really deep insights and practical guidance on exactly this process of building and implementing agents effectively. One powerful framework the book introduces to help you identify the best opportunities is called the 3 circles of agentic opportunity. Imagine 3 overlapping circles: impact, feasibility, and effort.
Impact, feasibility, effort. Okay.
Right. The sweet spot for your first or next AI agent project lies right there in the middle where all 3 circles intersect. Let's take an example. A digital marketing agency we worked with found their team spending over 200 hours each month manually compiling client performance reports. This was tedious, prone to errors, and crucially, it was preventing the team from doing more strategic, high-value work for clients. So the potential impact of automating this was huge. Then they looked at feasibility. Was the process well documented? Yes. Was the necessary data accessible from their analytics platforms and CRM? Yes. Could an AI agent realistically perform the data gathering, analysis, and report generation tasks? Yes. So feasibility was high. Finally, effort. How hard would it be to actually build and implement this agent? Given the clear process and data access and the fact it wouldn't require massive disruption to their core business operations, the implementation effort was deemed manageable. So this monthly reporting task, it landed right in that sweet spot: high impact, high feasibility, manageable effort. It became a prime candidate for their first major agentic automation project.
That's a great, clear example.
And we really encourage you, the listener, to think about your own work, your own processes. Try mapping them out using this lens. You can do a quick task inventory, then an impact assessment. What's the benefit? A feasibility analysis, can it technically be done? And an effort estimation. How hard is it? This helps you prioritize and find that low-hanging fruit or high-value opportunity. Once you've identified a good candidate, some key design principles are crucial for success. First, start with the end in mind. Before you write a single line of code or configure anything, define crystal clear success criteria. What does success look like? Be specific. Include quantitative metrics like reduction in processing time by X%, error rate decreased by Y%, and qualitative ones like improved user satisfaction, better quality of output. Knowing your target upfront guides the entire design.
Measure what matters.
Exactly. Second, understand your current state deeply. Don't just automate the existing process blindly. Map out the current workflow in detail. Talk to the people doing the work now. This often reveals hidden complexities, undocumented workarounds, bottlenecks you weren't aware of. Understanding the assets is critical before designing the to-be. And third, reinforcing what we discussed earlier. Embrace the team of specialized agents concept, our one tool, one agent guideline. Avoid the temptation to build one giant, complex, do-everything agent. Remember that newsletter automation example? Instead of one agent trying to write, format, manage approvals, and send, they used a compiler agent to gather content, a formatting agent to make it look good, and a manager agent to handle approvals and scheduling. Each was relatively simple, focused, and really good at its one job. This modularity makes the system more robust, easier to update, and more efficient.
Simpler pieces working together.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And all this feeds into the overall agent framework outlined in the book. This covers all the essential elements you need to define for a robust agent. Its agent identity, its purpose, role, persona, its gear and brain, the models, tools, data it uses, its execution and workflow, how it sequences tasks, interacts with systems, its navigation and rules, decision-making logic, policies, guardrails, and critically, its testing and trust strategy, how you'll validate, monitor, improve, and scale it. It really is like writing a very precise, multifaceted job description and operational manual for these digital workers.
Those design principles, starting with the end, understanding the current state, the one tool, one agent idea, they sound incredibly practical and logical. But let's be real, are there common pitfalls that companies tend to fall into even when they try to follow these principles? For instance, what about just the sheer resistance to changing existing workflows? Or maybe the challenge of accurately assessing that effort circle you mentioned? Sometimes things look easier than they are.
Oh, absolutely. Those are two huge ones. Underestimating the effort, especially the effort required for integration with existing, often legacy systems, is incredibly common. Things that look simple on a diagram can get very complex when you hit real-world IT infrastructure. And you nailed the other one. Organizational change management, the human element. You can design the most brilliant agent perfectly aligned with all these principles, but if the people who need to use it, interact with it, or have their jobs changed by it aren't bought in, if they resist the change, the project can easily stumble or fail. Technology is only part of the equation. Managing the human transition is paramount.
That's such a critical reminder. The human element is always key in adopting these powerful new tools.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about bringing this all together in the real world. Let's look at some transformations. The book highlights a really pioneering example of large-scale agentic AI adoption. Pets at Home, the big pet care company in the UK.
Yeah.
What was their strategic vision that set them on this path? And how did they lay the groundwork for what sounds like a pretty ambitious project?
Yeah, the Pets at Home case study is fascinating because it shows a company really thinking big about agentic AI, not just isolated pilots. Their strategic vision was incredibly ambitious, as you said. It wasn't just about automating a few tasks. Their leadership right from the top envisioned creating an AI digital assistant for each customer. They saw AI becoming the primary interface, the main way the company would interact with its customers and even its internal colleagues.
Wow, AI is the main interface. That's bold.
It was. And crucial to this was strong executive backing. The leaders didn't just approve projects, they embraced this as a fundamental shift, calling it an industrial revolution for their business. That level of vision and commitment is rare and powerful. But they also understood a critical lesson: foundation first. Before they could build all these amazing AI assistants, they knew they needed a rock-solid data foundation. So they made a significant investment in building a robust, unified data platform, using Azure in their case. They focused on bringing together both structured data, like sales records, and unstructured data, like vet consultation notes, into one accessible place. This data groundwork was absolutely key to everything that followed. Once that foundation was in place, they started rolling out these transversal AI agents, agents designed to work across different parts of the business. Two examples really stand out. First, their ambient digital scribe for veterinary consultations. This agent listens in, with consent of course, during vet appointments. It doesn't just transcribe the conversation. It achieves a remarkable 99.6% accuracy in identifying key medical terms, standardizing the medical coding used, and generating high-quality structured data from the conversation.
So it turns unstructured chat into structured data automatically.
Exactly. And this created this amazing virtuous cycle. Better structured data meant their machine learning models could learn more effectively, leading to better insights and potentially better AI tools down the line. It solved a major bottleneck in capturing clinical information accurately. The second example is their insurance integration agent. Imagine you're at the vet, your pet needs a procedure, and you're worried about the cost and your insurance coverage. This agent can seamlessly, in real time during the consultation, check the pet's insurance policy details, verify coverage for the recommended treatment, and provide that information right there to the vet and the pet owner.
That's incredibly useful for the owner right in that moment.
Hugely. It helps them make informed decisions about care right when they need the information most. The Pets at Home case study offers some really vital lessons learned for anyone considering this path. One big one we already touched on: data quality is paramount. They found that while humans are surprisingly good at dealing with messy or contradictory information, AI agents really struggle. If an agent sees conflicting data points, it might just pick one randomly or try to average them nonsensically. Clean, consistent data is crucial. And this led them to embrace a management by exception model. Let the AI agents handle the routine, the predictable, the high-volume tasks they excel at, but design the system so that humans are alerted to step in for the anomalies, the complex edge cases, the situations requiring nuanced judgment or handling contradictory information. It's about humans and AI working together, each playing to their strengths.
That's a really powerful, concrete example of agentic AI delivering real value at scale. Management by exception sounds like a very smart way to implement it. Beyond pet care, though, where else are we seeing these agentic principles being applied successfully? The book mentions quite a range, right?
Indeed, it does. The appendices in the book are actually a treasure trove of examples detailing a wide spectrum of agentic use cases across different functions and industries. And they all echo those core principles we saw at pets, at home spa, specialized agents, data focus, human oversight. You see applications in supply chain risk management, where agents constantly monitor global news, weather patterns, shipping data, assess potential disruptions, and proactively suggest alternative sourcing or routing. In complex B2B sales orchestration, agents can analyze deal histories, identify patterns in successful sales cycles, prompt sales reps with next best actions, and even coordinate follow-ups across different teams. In IT service management, agents are dramatically reducing incident resolution times by automatically diagnosing problems, retrieving solutions from knowledge bases, and even performing initial remediation steps. And even down to the individual level, we're seeing personal productivity agents emerge for things like intelligent email management, sorting, summarizing, drafting replies, calendar optimization, and sophisticated research synthesis, where agents can read vast amounts of documents and provide concise summaries or identify key themes. These examples really just scratch the surface, but they demonstrate the immense versatility and potential impact of AI agents across almost every facet of business operations.
It really does sound like the potential is enormous and touches almost everything. So looking ahead now, broadening the perspective, the implications for the future of work and even society as a whole seem profound. The book talks about work reimagined, envisioning this kind of symphony of human and machine. A key concept introduced is humix. Can you unpack that a bit?
Yeah, humix is a really central term in the book. It refers to those uniquely human capabilities that AI, at least currently and likely for the foreseeable future, struggles to replicate. Things like deep creativity, nuanced critical thinking, complex problem solving in novel situations, genuine emotional intelligence, empathy, ethical judgment, maybe even wisdom. The vision isn't that AI agents replace humans wholesale. Instead, they complement us. They take over the routine, the repetitive, the data intensive, maybe even the complex analytical tasks they can do faster or better. This frees up humans to focus more on exercising these humix, the parts of work that are often more fulfilling, more strategic, and uniquely human.
So it's about elevating human work, not eliminating it.
That's the optimistic view, yes. Letting AI handle the drudgery so we can focus on the human magic.
However, this leads directly to what the book calls the adaptation paradox. This sounds important. What's the paradox?
The paradox is this. The very skills we need to work effectively with AI skills, like critical thinking about AI outputs, ethical oversight, managing agent teams, designing agent workflows, these humix are becoming more sophisticated and more crucial. But the pace of technological change is accelerating so rapidly that the time we have to develop these new skills is dramatically shrinking. We need higher order skills, but we have less time to learn them before the landscape shifts again.
We need to learn faster than ever just to keep up.
Exactly. This demands a pretty radical rethinking of professional development. Forget periodic training courses every few years. We likely need models of continuous, perhaps even AI-assisted, learning embedded directly into the workflow. Lifelong learning becomes not just a buzzword, but an operational necessity.
And this obviously has huge implications for reinventing education itself, right? Starting much earlier.
Absolutely. If AI can handle information recall and routine analysis, then education systems need to shift focus dramatically. Less emphasis on rote memorization of facts, more on nurturing those uniquely human abilities: critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication, ethical reasoning. The book points to examples like Singapore's Skills Future initiative, which really focuses on lifelong learning, skills mastery, and importantly, the ability to apply skills creatively in new contexts, often alongside technology. That adaptability becomes key.
And taking it even broader to the societal level, the book explores some really provocative ideas, ones that make you think. Could agentic AI genuinely lead to the end of work as we know it, at least freeing many people from unsatisfying repetitive jobs?
It's a possibility that's debated.
It makes you think back to John Maynard Keynes, the economist, who, way back in the 1930s, predicted that technological advancements would lead to something like a 15-hour work week by the 21st century. His vision wasn't mass unemployment, but liberation, more leisure time, more time for personal pursuits, culture, community.
A vision we haven't quite realized yet.
Not yet. But maybe agentic AI gets us closer. We see modern experiments, like that company in New Zealand, Perpetual Guardian, that trial a 32-hour work week, 4 days, for the same pay. They reported decreased stress and increased productivity and engagement. Imagine the potential if AI agents could automate a significant chunk of current workloads. Could a shorter work week become the norm?
It's a tantalizing prospect.
It also forces us to potentially redefine human value beyond just economic output or compensation, especially for roles that are critical to society but often poorly compensated, things like caregiving for children or the elderly, community organizing, artistic creation. If AI handles more of the economic engine tasks, could society find ways to better value and support these essential human contributions?
These are huge, fundamental questions about what we value as a society. And navigating all these profound changes, this rapidly accelerating capability landscape, it makes the urgency of AI governance more critical than ever before. We can't just let this unfold without guardrails. The book argues strongly that the unique nature of agentic AI, its autonomy, its potential for emergent behavior, its ability to act in the real world, demands a robust, multi-layered approach to governance. We need what it calls a three-tiered framework for control.
Okay, 3 tiers. What are they?
First, you need appropriate government regulation. This sets the broad societal boundaries, establishes clear lines of accountability, maybe defines prohibited uses, ensures basic safety and fairness standards. Think rules of the road. Second, you need strong corporate governance. Within organizations using these agents, you need clear internal policies, ethics boards or review processes, robust real-time monitoring and auditing systems to ensure agents are operating safely, effectively, and aligned with the organization's values and goals. And third, critically, you need individual oversight and literacy. Each of us, as users, managers, or citizens interacting with these systems, needs to develop a better understanding what AI agents can do, what their limitations are, how they make decisions, and how to interact with them responsibly.
So government, company, and individuals all have a role.
Exactly. It has to be collaborative, and the challenge is unprecedented because the technology is evolving so fast. Governance frameworks need to be anticipatory, adaptive, and collaborative. We can't wait until we fully understand the implications of today's agents because tomorrow's or next year's will likely have already surpassed them in capability. The time to build these governance structures, to have these societal conversations, is really now.
That brings us towards the end of this really fascinating deep dive into agentic artificial intelligence, based on the work by Pascal Bornet and his collaborators. We've journeyed quite a distance today from understanding those frustrating limitations of current generative AI through exploring the transformative potential of AI agents that can sense, plan, act, and reflect. We looked at their levels of autonomy, their inherent strengths, but also those critical limitations like lack of common sense and the hallucination problem. We explored how they can work together in multi-agent systems and how they take action in the real world, sometimes in surprising ways. We also, thanks to your insights, got into the practicalities of roadmap for building successful agents, drawing from resources like AI Coach by Anil Nathu, looking at key design principles, and learning from pioneering case studies like Pets at Home. And finally, we zoomed out to consider the profound implications for the new world of work and the urgent need for thoughtful governance in society.
We really hope this deep dive has armed you with practical insights, a clearer understanding, and perhaps some actionable strategies to help you navigate and potentially leverage this powerful technology responsibly. And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with. The future probably isn't about choosing between human intelligence and artificial intelligence. It seems much more likely that it's about creating powerful synergies between the two synergies that can uplift human performance, make organizations more effective, and potentially tackle problems we couldn't solve before. The real question is, what part will you play in shaping this new reality? Thank you so much for joining us today. Buy the book at the AI Coach website for more insights on artificial intelligence.